Welcome to our 2022 federal budget wrap-up. We're now doing these twice a year.
How exciting!
It is so exciting. Here's where we actually tell you about all the things that are announced, what it means to you, and things you need to know to improve your life.
Oh, that sounded like the sounds of crickets.
It was crickets. Lots of talk last night, but no real new initiatives and nothing in it for our clients, so the people that we do this for.
Yeah, so it was definitely a very boring budget. Labor's first budget, obviously we already had one of these earlier in the year, and there really was crickets.
That's right. And if you talk about how the economy is faring generally, we've got record high inflation. It's been the highest it's been in 40 years. People are noticing that through the price they're paying for fuel at the pump, the price of fruit and vegetables at supermarkets. We've now also got the added impact of interest rate rises, which is predicted to keep going and hitting 3.1% by the end of the year.
Not a nice position and an exciting spending budget, therefore.
That's right.
All right, so let's chat about maybe what actually was announced. There obviously wasn't a lot, but there were a couple of little bits and pieces. The first thing is electric vehicles. 1 July 2022, exempt battery, hydrogen fuel cell and plug-in hybrid electric cars are going to be exempt from fringe benefits tax, providing they are below the luxury car limit, which is $84,916 for this financial year. Got to be very exact. The weird thing about this is obviously fringe benefits tax is not payable on these vehicles. However, it still has to be reported on the individual's single touch payroll, used to be called pay-as-you-go payment summary, and therefore their tax return, which means that still gets counted for things like Medicare levy surcharge when we're looking at taxable income. So a good step in the right direction that there is no actual fringe benefits tax payable, but we still need to take into consideration there are things the employees will be paying potentially other non-income tax things on. There were a couple of measures for supporting small business owners, $15.1 million over 2 years for the Small Business Debt Helpline and the New Access Program to support financial and mental wellbeing for small business owners. And we all know for them, the last 2 years have been crazy and anything but nice to be a small business owner.
And if anything, should have been 15 billion, not 15 million,
yeah.
But it's a start.
It's a start. This is basically a program where you can access a trained mental health professional for up to 6 structured sessions, which again is a start. The other thing was some small business energy efficient investments. $62.6 million has been earmarked to help support small and medium-sized businesses to improve their energy efficiency and reduce energy use. That's literally the amount of information that we have, so it was a good announcement. No idea how that will roll out. Assume it will be in the form of grants of some description, but we're still yet to have any detail in relation to that. There was a focus on energy jobs. So there's a new energy skills program that's basically going to be a pathways program for clean energy industry jobs. Again, no detail. It'd be great to have some detail, but that's coming up next. And there's a new energy apprenticeships program to deliver 10,000 new energy apprentices into industry. The actual apprentice is the one who gets the money here. So we've seen a lot over the last couple of years with the boosting apprenticeship grants and things that the employer was the one getting the rebate. This is actually $10,000 for the apprentice over the life of their apprenticeship. So it's $2,000 on commencement, $2,000 per year for the life of the apprenticeship, and then $2,000 at the end. So this really is designed to encourage, apprentices to really want to get into these jobs with a nice 10K bonus.
There did seem to be a focus last night on clean energy and hitting this net zero by 2050. So
There was a lot of talk, but actually not a lot in the budget papers to encourage other than these couple of little things. The last part was looking at, some additional jobs in this space. So we're lifting migration cap to 195,000. There's 480,000 fee-free TAFE positions to be provided by the government over the next 4 years, and a whole host of other money committed to national skills agreements. Again, light on some of the details with that, but I'm sure that will be announced in more detail in the coming months or maybe year.
Yeah, and just interesting to note at this point, all of these initiatives are good, but they're just announcements at this point. So because of the way the current government is structured, it's actually going to need Greens and other support at the Senate level to get these passed, but we will keep you posted on that.
And interestingly, most of these things are already in progress, right? If we actually look at what was new announced last night, there actually isn't a lot. There was just a lot of, yes, we've been discussing this, or yes, there's a bill in front of Parliament for this. This is what we're going to do. So spending really was the only thing that we got acknowledgement out of in terms of where that money is actually going to go. Again, light on the details, so we'll just throw some of these numbers out there for you. There's a National Reconstruction Fund. A little bit disappointing that they've stopped the modern manufacturing stuff that they were trying to do. This is all being wrapped up into this National Reconstruction Fund of $15 billion. Targets are resources, agri-transport, medical science, renewables, low-emission technologies. But basically, we're going to have to wait for this because this is a new fund that's being developed, and it's going to take 2 years for them to actually put this together. So whilst 15 billion is nice, we're not going to see any of that spending for at least 2 years.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I think they're trying to increase tourism and get people back to normal. I mean, who doesn't love travelling in caravans and a campfire holiday? The government's obviously putting some specific money at projects around getting people back into Australia and out and about and enjoying this beautiful country. We've also got a pretty major announcement, which is a cross-level government initiative from the federals and the states to build 1 million new homes over the next 5 years. So that's actually a pretty good step forward, and hopefully that can happen and happen pretty quickly because the price of homes for a lot of people trying to enter the market is just outrageous, and hopefully that can keep those prices down to a point where people can actually afford their own home.
It'll be interesting given the trades shortage that we already have, let alone the supply of material shortage in Australia in the building industry. So watch this space. It is certainly fantastic that they're doing these initiatives though to bring people back to home ownership. And there's a whole bunch of other money going to combating scams and online fraud. We've certainly seen a huge amount of that of late. 8.8 billion for NDIS funding, some more investment in the NBN, 2.4 billion there, and 50.5 million to establish the Australian Critical Minerals Research and Development Hub. We're going to have so many acronyms out of this budget, right?
Say that 5 times fast.
All these new little funds and groups that are happening. So what's happening in super and the SMSF space?
I'll replay that cricket sound, a bit of nothing. There was a couple of announcements that were clarified. So one of the initiatives 3 years ago with the last budget was to try and reduce the compliance needs for super funds to have an audit once every 3 years as opposed to annually. That's actually been scrapped. So SMSF trustees now have to have their funds continued to be audited every year, which we take care of for those clients, but it's still an annual requirement for super fund trustees.
Which is good because it does help in that complexity and, I guess, structure in that self-managed super fund environment. So we think that's a good thing.
Agree. For people of retirement age or people who are looking to downsize, there's been quite a lot of movement in this space over the last few years where the government's encouraging people who are basically empty nesters who are looking at selling that family home and buying something a lot cheaper and easier for them to live in retirement, the ability to put up to $300,000 per person into superannuation, which is a great initiative. Previously, you had to be of age pension age, which was 65. Last year, that was reduced to the age of 60 and actually opening that up even further, now down to the age of 55. So a lot more freedom in that space, but just remember for everyone that you have to be selling your family home. It's not an investment to sell down. The other good thing for people who are perhaps retired but wanting to work or keep working is the government's allowing you to earn more money before it affects things like your age pension. So currently, if you earn more than $7,000 in a year, you will actually start losing your entitlements to the age pension. However, they're allowing you now to earn another $4,000 up to $11,000 a year before you start losing those entitlements, which is actually important for the retired population because A, they don't necessarily want to stop work completely, but B, the pension entitlement itself is not the benefit. It's those other things that you get, like cheaper healthcare that go with it, that actually want to keep. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we certainly need everyone in the workforce at the moment.
Yeah, all hands on deck.
Yes, please. There has been some changes to paid parental leave. This has actually been a hot topic for the last few years as well. At the moment, primary carers get 18 weeks paid parental leave and the secondary carer generally gets 2 weeks. That's now changing, but not till July 2024. So in July 2024, there's an extra 2 weeks that's coming on to that, and then there'll be an extra 2 weeks in 25 and 2 weeks in 26. But this is changing now to be much broader for a family as opposed to the primary carer and the secondary carer. So you'll be able to split that up how you choose, which effectively means if you've got children and one of you wants to work 2 days a week and one of you wants to work 3 days a week in that initial period when your child is born, you'll be able to do that and split that paid parental leave between both parents. So good start, but again, we're not actually seeing this benefit until 1 July 2024.
And then following on from that, obviously, when people return to work, you've got the issue of childcare, right?
So a nice complex system again in Australia, but we are looking at cheaper childcare from July 2023, right? So this is actually happening earlier than the paid parental leave. The subsidy rate is going from 85% to 90%, and then it's basically going to reduce by 1% for each $5,000 in income that a family has, greater than $80,000. So if you've got a family who earns a combined income of $200,000, their subsidy rate is currently 50%. That's actually going to increase to 70%. So definitely going to help in that cost of childcare. But something to note is that poor childcare industry is actually struggling to find workers as well. So we just hope that there's a focus on trying to get people back.
That'd be good. And what about on the personal tax rate side of things?
Well, this is a hot media topic. So we're legislated to have personal tax cuts on the 1st of July 2024. And this is basically to simplify our pretty complex personal tax structure. What's supposed to happen is that if you earn between $18,000 and $45,000, you'll be taxed 19 cents in the dollar. That's similar to what we're doing now in terms of up to $45,000. Above that, from $45,000 to $200,000, you'll be taxed at a flat 30 cents. Medicare levy is obviously on top of this. And then over $200,000, taxed at 45 cents in the dollar. So this was designed to kind of bring us back into line with some other more developed countries and also keep everything simple. So at the moment, that's not going to change and will be legislated, but watch this space. The other thing is no more Lamingtons. So there was a nice meme going around about the low and middle income earners tax offset over the last couple of years of $1,500. That stopped on the 1st of July and it's not being reintroduced.
Okay. Have to cut it somewhere, don't we?
That's exactly right.
Okay. And as we said, it wasn't a lot of announcements in the budget. We'll be sending out a blog post later today to everyone that's already registered. If you're not, you can actually head over to our website and hit the subscribe button and we will be sure to include you in our blog post.
And that literally was about the wrap up of the budget. I think the only good thing for businesses that probably did come out of last night is everything that was still in the works, but, from 2014 and 15 budgets that hadn't gone through Parliament and been passed, the government actually said, we're not going to do that, we're not going to do that. So it just gives some certainty to people, nothing too exciting from that perspective. The only thing is that they're definitely pushing ahead with the modern business register. Directors need an ID by the 30th of November.
Fun times ahead.